actually makes a big difference. But here we go. Game 2 is about to get underway. The map is going to be IdrA Altar, and I can't help but think that this map favors our Zerg player just a little bit, especially after the style we saw out of IdrA last game. Now, IdrA is going to be spawning as our green Zerg in the top right-hand corner of the map.
And make some noise for IdrA, guys, if you guys want him to win this next game. And in the bottom right-hand corner, we've got the red Protoss, IdrA.
Well, if that doesn't motivate him to take a win here, I don't know what will. He might even be able to hear you guys through the booth. The booths are pretty much soundproof, but not entirely. That's why we run white noise in the players' ears so they can't hear anything that's going on out here. But maybe they feel the spiritual presence of the crowd.
Oh, I can tell you guys no doubt, as we've both competed before at LAN tournaments, when the crowd starts cheering and hyping for you, nothing else feels the same, man. The electricity in the air, it really gets the juices flowing. And I'm sure IdrA's got some vengeance on his mind. Now, you were mentioning before, this is IdrA Altar. Big map. It definitely favors Zerg in most circumstances. However, we do want to call out one thing, and I'm sure you agree with me on this, Pain User. The sweet spot on this map, underlooking the natural of the Zerg. If IdrA can get some Colossi there, it can certainly be devastating for IdrA.
You know, a lot of really talented players on IdrA, if they get this spawn set up here, north to south with these positions, might actually contour their build to get even earlier Colossus. They might deviate from whatever build that they had planned out. They can go to 2 base very early on. He can follow the same style that he went with last game, but if he decides to add Colossus very early on and push into that sweet spot, it can be difficult for Zergs to deal with.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think that IdrA is going to follow up with the same build he did last game. You know, the all-in is something you don't really do 2 times in a row, unless you're just trying to out-level IdrA into thinking, oh, IdrA is not going to all-in me again. So, I don't know, guys. I don't think IdrA is going to do it. Obviously, there's a lot of tricks up IdrA's sleeve. He's got the cookbook on special tactics. Now, one thing I might like to see is that Warp Prism.
Oh, wow. And we have a Nexus first here out of IdrA. A little bit bold on his part, but I think he'll be able to get away with it. IdrA actually opened up with Pool first here, and he's made 6 Lings, which is very uncharacteristic of him. These Lings might be able to get into the natural before IdrA is capable of getting a cannon up, and this could just be timing here from IdrA. He might actually, oh no, he's getting held up a little bit here. And the longer he kills this pylon, the more time he's wasting and not getting into the natural of IdrA.
Yeah, IdrA throwing up that pylon up was actually really smart. He realized, oh my goodness, 6 Lings coming for me. I opened up Nexus first. I've got to delay them in whatever way I possibly can. And the pylon served as the perfect distraction. Now IdrA's coming in with the 6 Lings, but it's a little bit later. And it's gonna be close. If IdrA can close this off with another building or 2, then he should be safe against the 6 Lings, but the 6 Lings are making their way across the wrong side of the map, because remember, IdrA did not scout IdrA yet.
Yeah, he's about to scout his front door right now with this Overlord, so he's gonna realize, pull those Lings on over from the other side of the map. And he's not gonna be able to do any kind of damage here at best. You know, he's just gonna camp outside the natural, get a feel for what buildings IdrA's putting up and when, get a timing on that cybernetic score.
Yeah, so he's going to see the gateway coming up right now, and he sees the forge and a single cannon right now. Gateway going to close that off at the last second as well. IdrA just waiting to the ever last second, and he cancels the gateway there. So, you know what? He didn't exactly want to open up with that second gateway before Cybercore, because that kind of delays his build. He just wanted to throw it up to prevent the Zerglings from running in, and now he's finishing the wall with the proper building, the Cybercore.
And prevent those Zerglings from running in. He did. They certainly would have been able to get into the main run around for a majority of this early game and just harass probes here and there. It's always annoying when, you know, a couple Zerglings get inside your base and you don't have any units to deal with it. They also act as really good scouting units as well.
Look at this hatchery, Pain User. IdrA going for a hatchery outside the rocks here now. This is something we've seen Rhett do many, many times. On this map, it's a little annoying to take the hatchery at this 3rd location, which is the safest location for the Zerg. Reason being because of those rocks. So what does Rhett do? He throws the hatchery outside of the rocks as a macro hatch first, and then he gets the hatchery at that location. So obviously now IdrA gonna gear up for a very dedicated macro game.
Yeah, most definitely. I actually really like dropping the macro hatch there early. He needs the added production capability of the 3rd hatch, so he's going to drop it anyway, even though there's no location for it. Also, this being the version of IdrA that has those added minerals here at the 3rd and a 2nd gas as well. So it's very important to get that 3rd up and running as soon as possible on IdrA. This Zealot might throw a little bit of a wrench in the machinery. Gonna get a few Zergling kills here, certainly delay those rocks from going out. And look at IdrA using the positioning between the hatchery and the forest right there, just trying to kill a few extra lings, but actually only kills one right there. So getting a scout timing, he knows that the macro hatch is going up. He knows IdrA's gearing up to take that early third. Let's see how he prepares his build to stop that.
Well, we'll just have to see. I like how he did send that Zealot out to get that scout on. IdrA is still working those rocks down, not committing to roaches yet, and we finally now have the Roach Warren coming up. A lot of times Zerg players just want to get that Roach Warren out early on, not necessarily to produce roaches, but just in case. You know, you never know what Protoss can throw at you, so you want to have the Roach Warren there so you can make roaches at will.
Yeah, it's a good security measure, good precaution, just in case he pushes out and you're not suspecting a push at all. You need the capability to at least produce roaches at those timings in the game where you would be vulnerable to a push. And they're a scouting overlord. Did he actually see that robo? I'm not
He did actually see the
100%
robo.
sure. Okay, so he saw that robo going up. He knows it's on the way. And look at the positioning of the robo there. IdrA might be doing exactly what we talked about. He's also getting the Twilight Council, so he could be going with Blink Stalkers and early aggressive Colossus. And he also has the robo facility in a position where the Colossus are going to walk out. And I can't think of a position where you could put it where the walk distance would be shorter to the sweet spot we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, and let's not forget that robotics facility can be used for a quick observer as well. He can go for blink stalkers and try to blink up in.
He's definitely going to get an observer.
Yep,
at least one.
We'll have to see which way he decides to go. Right now, IdrA gearing up to take the third as well as his pylon is coming down. Both players, man, going into super macro game. Now there's that hatchery coming up to complement the macro hatch. So IdrA already mining a little bit of minerals right there. And we'll have to see how this is going to play out, man.
He could also just get a single observer, cut production on the robo facility, and then use the obs to spot the high ground and blink into the natural.
We have a Dark Shrine coming up and a
Interesting
Warp Prism.
tech choice.
Is it time for some special tactics?
I think it may indeed be time for some special tactics, and he's also expanding behind this. This is a very interesting play here from IdrA. I wouldn't have expected him. He's playing very risky is what he's doing right now. He needs to be really careful. He's teching in a lot of different ways. He obviously got that robo, the Twilight, he's getting the Dark Shrine, and he's playing greedy economically. Maybe he feels like he needs to play this way because of the deciding win in game one of this series from IdrA. And let's hope IdrA doesn't scout this and capitalize on it, because he certainly will have a window of opportunity where he could do a lot of damage to IdrA if he chooses to push.
Now there is a Warp Prism that has loaded up for Zealot's Pain User. I did notice that IdrA produced an Overseer as well, so IdrA will have somewhat limited ability to scout out invisible units such as the DT. And it looks like the Observer there went down for IdrA, and that's a little bit of a loss. However, IdrA is coming out across the map with that Warp Prism, just being lazy right now, and he's going to go ahead and send it over to the top. And it looks like he may be gearing up for what seems to be like a two-pronged attack. Going to hit the front door with a couple of units to distract IdrA, meanwhile warping in the 4 Zealots in the mineral line of the main.
Yeah, going to drop those Zealots directly into the mineral line and then probably warp in some additional DTs. Certainly has the potential to do some damage here, but he didn't bring any sentries, so he's not going to be able to trap the drones. The drones will be able to run away here. It looks like a few drones might go down here. One goes down. The Zealots getting split up here. He's not pushing the front at the same time either, but DT's coming into the third right now. Gonna do quite a bit of damage there.
And there's no detection right here for IdrA. IdrA has to evacuate that location. Doesn't have anything to see the Dark Templar. Meanwhile, another Overseer being made right now to help and increase detection. The Protoss force in the middle of the map gets caught, though. IdrA's going to lose the majority of his army, but how much harassment is he going to be able to do? Pops off the hatchery at the third, but he isn't able to do that much damage.
But was it worth it? He lost those 4 Zealots, his entire army, 4 DTs as well. Going to lose a 5th DT in the main right now that's going to go down to the Spine Crawler, and all for that hatchery. He only got a few drone kills. I really don't think it was worth it. He's trying to harass a little bit more with this Warp Prism, but you know, I just don't see this working out. IdrA knows now he's getting Spore Crawlers in the mineral line, and you know, he seems like he's prepared for everything.
Yeah, man, I think IdrA was prepared for the cookbook today. He's got all angles covered. IdrA tried, but at this point, really, he's only got a Colossus, a couple of sentries. He's trying to make his army back up to full status, but you know, he's behind by a good 60 or 70 supply, maybe more, and IdrA is about to barrel down the front door. He's got so many Lings and Roaches. He's getting a Spire as well, so he may have some Mutalisks or Corruptors coming out to deal with potential Colossus. And in the next couple of moments, we're about to see if IdrA is going to beat down IdrA at his front door.
He definitely has the potential to do that. IdrA now making a transition from DTs into Colossus here.
Yeah.
And gonna get a few Colossus out. He has one right now. He's getting a few Immortals as well. IdrA gonna make his move at the third here. Gonna have to barrel his way through these gateways. He's also sending some Zergs through the front, some Zerglings. Gonna make it past the cannon, so he has free reign on the main. All of these probes are in dire straits right now.
Yeah, but at the same time, IdrA also warping in a couple of Zealots to try to do a little bit of a backstab harass, but it meets the wall of Roaches and Spine Crawlers, and that's gonna go down. And meanwhile, like you said before, IdrA losing a majority of his probes in his main. He may end up losing his Nexus as well. IdrA is in a lot of trouble, guys, and IdrA's doing a great job this game of attacking multiple angles. We do have a Colossus that just went down at the front door.
And he's flanking with those Lings from behind at the exact same time, doing so much damage right here. He's killing a lot of those high-value units, Sentries, Immortals, Colossus, all going down, and it's going to be very difficult for IdrA to reproduce that army, and IdrA can certainly afford to throw away a few units right now. They're definitely expendable.
You know what? IdrA didn't do too bad right there. He held off a lot of the attack, and he only actually lost 16 probes. So
and after losing 16 probes, he's still even.
Yeah.
IdrA was producing a ton of probes the entire time that harass was going off with the DTs. And maybe that's what the DT harass was actually for.
The Warp Prism could go down to those Mutalisks. The 3 Mutas are striking, and IdrA unable to evacuate the Warp Prism. Unfortunately, it was over the trees, and these guys aren't tree climbers. They can't just hop out of the Warp Prism and run into a tree. But IdrA right now is just in a lot of trouble. He is kind of coming back in this game. I like how he held off the attacks from multiple angles. He's doing all right for himself, but it's still a dire situation.
Yeah, interestingly enough, he's actually getting, it looks like, yeah, he's getting Warp Prism speed. So he's going to start doing that Warp Prism harass once again. IdrA trying to make a Muta transition here. Not sure how well this is going to work out for him. It was scouted when those Mutas killed the Warp Prism, so he knows there's Mutas out on the field now. He's probably going to get cannons in the proper places. We have one cannon going up at the natural and one going up at the third as well. But he's going to push the front at the same time, and that Colossus will stay up.
IdrA pulling that Colossus back just in the nick of time. You guys saw IdrA trying to get in there to focus down that Colossus. Every single Colossus that you pick off as a Zerg player against the Protoss helps so much. You don't want to allow the Protoss to get that massive Colossus ball, but IdrA intelligently keeping that in the back, repels the engagement from IdrA, and IdrA now forced to run away. And I can't believe this. The supplies are even, guys. Despite IdrA having 3,000 minerals banked up, he's not really using it on anything. And if IdrA wanted to do something, I'm sure he could.
Yeah, IdrA is slowly getting that army composition that he wants. He has 2 Immortals now, only a single Colossus, but he's chrono boosting out additional Colossi here, and look at IdrA's upgrades right now, sitting at 2-1. IdrA just now getting +1 on those Mutas. Gonna be able to do some damage here.
The Stalkers blink in, though. They blink in, and they're gonna be able to repel those Mutalisks away. So minimal damage right there for IdrA against IdrA. 24 probes so far have gone down this entire game. Stalkers blinking once again.
Yeah, these Blink Stalkers are just the perfect counter to the Mutalisk switch right now. In the nick of time, so many Mutas going down right now. IdrA attacking the front at the same time here, not with enough to do any kind of significant damage, though.
I don't like how IdrA's playing this game at all. He's trying to do little hit and runs, little attacks here or there. But as a Zerg player, I really feel like he should be, building up a larger army and then making a stronger attack. And not to mention, going into these Mutalisks, he hasn't justified their costs, I don't think, at all. He hasn't been able to harass that much. He's only been flying here or there. He's lost a good half, a majority of those Mutas as well to the Stalkers. Things are not looking good for him.
Yeah, but you can certainly see where he was trying to go with that.
Yeah.
He's trying to switch into the Mutas, catch him off guard, do some damage there, and now we might have our final engagement here. He's just barreling into IdrA, but look how many Stalkers are there. They're just devastating.
It looks like the Roaches are going to get in here with that speed and the creep. They're going to focus down the Colossus. No, they are not focusing down the Colossus. The Colossus in the front there is doing a lot of damage, and IdrA kills off the entire army of IdrA. Unbelievable! And IdrA GG's! Wow.
What a great game right there from IdrA. And if we take a look at his upgrades, He was sitting at 3-1, and IdrA was only sitting at 1 carapace.
That was an unbelievable comeback by IdrA.